But I think it evolves on everyone, but it also, so even down to yourself individually. And I think it's really important to understand who you are and what you are doing here, and whether you want to really be here. Is it something you're genuinely passionate about, or your passion sits outside? Are you trying to pull in your passion into something where it's the wrong fit? I think that kind of confusion really exacerbates some of what happens in an organization, some of the politics, or some people describe this sort of toxic behavior as others. And if you try to think from the perspective of those other people, they've just got other stuff going on, and maybe there's reasons for why they're doing that. And often it's just like a discomfort in self that helps to exacerbate conflict or...
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Smithfield Smackdown podcast. Smithfield Search is an executive search firm, and in this podcast, we try to explore the real challenges and opportunities that are facing leaders in tech, creative agencies, and investor-backed business today. We have thoughtful conversations with founders, creative leads, investors, and executives, and dig into important questions around leadership, culture, hiring, innovation, but always with a focus on understanding the issues and practical solutions. The aim is to create a really honest dialogue to help leaders navigate the complexities of today. Smithfield Smackdown offers insights and perspectives that offer positive change and smarter leadership decisions. Today, I have design leader and coach Jason Mesut with me, who I'm sure many of you know. Jason, nice to see you again. Welcome.
Lovely to do this with you. Yeah, lovely to do this with you. Lovely to see you, as always.
Yeah. It would be great if you could start off by introducing yourself. Tell us a little bit about your journey from design leader into coaching. And then also, what was your first challenge in leadership, Jason?
Okay. So I was quite an academic at school, but I took on the challenge with my parents to go for an industrial design degree, and then I ended up in digital via a management consultancy. So I kind of learned a lot of business stuff, often kind of swimming against the tide. That has helped me later on. But I was sort of at I got the opportunity to work at Yale.com in the early days, late 90s. Early 2000, I think, as well. Just really where web was really kicking off, and I had to make a website a day, pretty much, for little small businesses like my parents' business, and I learned a lot. And Yale at the time were working with deep ends and stuff, so I got kind of exposure to some of that work, and then came back to college because that was a placement, and thought, like, I don't want to be making physical products. I probably need to go into this digital stuff.
Right.
So I did that, but I was at PA Consulting, management consultancy, for 3 years before I went to Flow Interactive, which is now Foolproof, early user experience consultancy. And then from there into Oyster Partners, which merged with FramFab, and then LBI.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that's where we met.
Yes, it probably was. Yeah, you did a lot of hiring for us and stuff. And then went to a small brand agency called The Team, and then to an enterprise application design sort of company called RMA Consulting, where we worked again together. And then kind of like shifted off that into product strategy, away from more typical leadership and management, and then set up my own business about 11 years ago now to consult. Mm-hmm. So my leadership started, I guess, more formally within Oyster Partners when I was given the opportunity to start leading a team within the map of medicine product that I was working on.
Yes.
And it wasn't just me doing the work. I was quite hands-on, but I was able to start, managing a team, getting the most out of them, run the team meetings, and then became a director at LBI and was part of the sort of leadership team within the user experience department.
And do you think that's when the coaching started? Tell me a little bit about that transition, which has been quite intentional, hasn't it, to move from design leadership to coaching? And every time you talk about coaching, your smile gets bigger. So I know it's something you love doing.
Well, I don't know where it actually started, thinking about it, because I was going to say it started later on, but it didn't really. Yeah, there's some aspect of it within that. I don't know, but I used to mentor quite a few people in the industry.
Yeah. Through the UXPA?
Yeah, I was always doing stuff in the community. So some people always say you're still a design leader because you do all the community stuff you do. Yeah, hosting UXPA events, running IXDA London
Yeah.
with Boone, with your support for the last however many 14 years or something. And I don't know, some people would come to me, or I would help people out outside of the organizations and try to help them into the industry. Like at that time, we were trying to encourage more people in and try to find
Mm.
ways and support like graduates. We had a good graduate program at LBI.
Yes.
And that some of those people went on to do amazing things. So yeah, I was always interested in helping others. I hadn't realized it was coaching. It was more mentoring and more kind of giving my advice and supporting. But it wasn't until maybe, yeah, it was in the pandemic, sort of October 2020, sorry, when I actually started my coaching course and I realized what that really was. But I'd also been coached as well a few
Yeah.
years prior. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. What was your coaching experience? Was that one of the motivators?
For being a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was really interested in the inquiry, the approach. So Julia Whitney, who people may know, she'd gone into coaching, and I was in a really rough spot with one of my clients, and an email and some really weird stuff that shouldn't really affect me that bad, really did. And I ended up kind of in a really horrible spiral, but the coaching really helped me out of it. And I was
Mhm.
really interested in the sort of the linguistics of coaching. So as someone who did a lot of research, it's quite interesting to ask those open questions and kind of leave space for other people
Mm.
to fill it with their thoughts and their empowerment, which coaching does. And so I was really interested. She held off from like giving me advice and tried to ask me what I think I should do. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, that feels good. But it also created an accountability. Like for some reason, I wanted to impress her by impressing and moving myself forwards. So that worked really well for me in my personality type, whatever that is.
Mm.
And yeah, so I kind of like really like found it valuable, and was always kind of curious about it, but didn't lean in until I had this opportunity where I'd come off a bit of a long-term project, and I was like, this is time. I'm going to give this a go.
Yeah. Great. And that's really interesting because later we're going to go on and talk, aren't we, about the positive impact that you've seen around coaching. I'm also a fan. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about your Smithfield Smackdown, which is a provocation, which we're going to talk through, but really try and come away with some takeaways that inspire people to go and do things a little bit differently where they might be now. So, yeah, tell us your Smackdown.
Yeah, it's really about the misaligned organization. And I find that with people I coach and my experiences working in organizations, there's usually misalignment at a whole bunch of different levels, sometimes all of them, from the individuals that are there. Like, do they
Mhm.
want to be there? Are they the right fit for there? To the teams that they're within, the people that they report up to, the organization as a whole and the products it creates, and ultimately its fit in the world. And often, if at one point those things are aligned, it's constantly moving. All of those parts are moving, and we
Yeah.
don't have good ways to keep them aligned. It's very rare to find an organization that has really clear strategy all the way from the top, all the way down. Everyone knows why they're there, and they're really comfortable with being there. And so it can't ever really be perfect all of the time because these things are shifting, but people don't have the
Yes.
tools available to do it. And it's causing real problems for people. It causes people to have burnout. I don't think is effective for the organization. So misaligned organization at all of those levels is,
For context, do you think that has got worse over recent times? I mean,
yeah.
it's really easy, isn't it, to point to remote working as one of the reasons why that is definitely exacerbated and magnified because everybody's working in silos. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, I do think it's got worse. I think because there's a lot of monotony in the sort of digital design world and in product, and also there's all this calcification of the way in which we do things. I think has meant that we're not really just making it up like we used to, which had its drawbacks. But I think as well, because some of those things, when it comes down to culture and communication and what the strategy is, those intrinsically linked. And a lot of the time, if you're working from home, you're often in a lot of transactional meetings, a lot of 30-minute meetings back to back, no space to think, no space to connect. I know people talk about the water cooler moments, but there's all sorts of moments in the office where you observe other people, and humans are very good at just understanding other people, understanding what's going on for them by just observing them. And we just kind of see the people that are on stage being presented.
Yeah.
It's artificial the whole time. And I think there was stuff at the start of the pandemic where, it got a bit more human. And then, with economy the way it's been and all the other things going on, people started kind of operating in a fear-based mode. And so it's exacerbated it. But we don't get to see what happens after that meeting. Like what happens to their smile, like they start talking about their kids or whatever. And,
Yeah.
I think that means that we don't get a real sense of what the culture really is and whether people are really being sincere and whether we can trust them. And I think that exacerbates any level of alignment in the organization.
Yeah. So how are we going to fix that?
Well, I mean, classic things like brand strategy and product strategy,
Yeah.
in theory can help. Most organizations really struggle with that type of work. I think,
Where
yes,
does that sit, that responsibility, right? Because we're talking
yeah.
about alignment here, and like even in the areas that you've discussed, it sort of should sit everywhere.
Yeah, well, I think it's everyone's job to some extent. In coaching, I do individual coaching, but also this thing called team coaching, and it's described as systemic team coaching, where you think about all the teams of teams and how they might interact. And it's really interesting, but it's slow moving, and so it's hard to pin down. But I think it evolves on everyone, but it also so even down to yourself individually. And I think it's really important to understand who you are and what you are doing here and
Yeah.
whether you want to really be here. Is it something you're genuinely passionate about, or your passion sits outside? Are you trying to pull in your passion into something where it's the wrong fit? I think that kind of confusion really exacerbates some of what happens in an organization, some of the politics, or some people describe this sort of toxic behavior as others. And if you try to think from the perspective of those other people, they've just got
Mm.
other stuff going on, and maybe there's reasons for why they're doing that.
Yeah.
And often it's just like a discomfort in self that helps to
Yeah.
exacerbate conflict or
Can I just, for context a little bit, dive into this fear factor? Because actually, I've been to Web Summit recently. I've been to a few other conferences, and it's been really highlighted in lots of people's talks. It's like businesses are not seeing the attrition that they want to see, but people are fearful about moving on because the economy is, not quite where it should be. I firmly believe that we are coming out of something now into a more steady place. I'm having much more interesting conversations with our clients about what they are building using AI, and it's the ROI is not just, oh, we're doing it quicker. Now they're going, we're looking to do it better. We're looking to do more interesting things. But that fear factor is really real, isn't it?
yeah.
Because I'm hearing lots about it from lots of different angles, and the impact of that on work must be negative, but also the impact on that on behavior must also be very negative if you're around that person or you are that person.
Yes. Well, if if you're struggling to pay mortgage or struggling to kind of pay for food at the moment or whatever, or the nice things in life that were kind of giving you the joys, you think the default is to try and kind of protect your position, maybe in an organization. And if you're doing something that's somewhat creative work, whether it's product strategy or like engineering to some extent or whatever, you might not take as many risks as you possibly could or should. And right now, it feels like there's a lack of risk taking in certainly like more traditional organizations. And I know that there's pockets of it for sure. And there's some real excitement going on, specifically in agencies as well that are, struggling. But if you're operating from that point of fear, the type of creativity that you're going to be applying is just quite restricted.
Quite
You're
safe.
not, yeah, it's safe. It's just it's small things. It's like you're saying, it's like we're going to do this faster, do it quicker. We're going to optimize this and that. You're going to
Yeah.
connect the database in this way, rather than
Yes.
kind of think, well, what should this really be? What
Mm.
could we be doing beyond just another chatbot agent or something? There's
Yeah.
just a lack of
Yeah.
imagination for
Well, I
what
was going
people
to
are doing.
say, actually, the really scary thing is people often go, we're going to do this again. We're just going to do this again because that's what we know. And that is really stunting creativity. Instead of kind of solving a problem, you're just delivering a piece of work that's the same as what you've
Well,
delivered.
it's a waste of resource. Like it's a waste of the people that you have to do the same thing again. Like, do you need all those people to
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Well, it's both boring, it's demoralizing, especially if people are not
Yeah.
if it's not going to do anything to move the needle.
Yeah.
And I think some of the time, in lots of different levels of people that I coach, they're like going, I just don't know what the strategy is. I don't know why we're doing this. It's not clear. It's just because that person over there, that organization over there is doing it. There's not a
Mm.
good rationale. So I do think and this is common across like design and product people I work with as well. Like there's just a lack of good strategic expertise or like confidence, I suppose, maybe to make a decision saying, we're going to do that and not those things. And we're going to do it in this way that only we can, like, rather than just do what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. There's so much more confidence in that sentence already, right? And inspiration. So, I want to talk about the impact that you've seen coaching have around you, and I'm sure as a leader in coaching as well. What kind of outcomes can people expect with a good sort of mentoring or coaching
So
program in place?
Individuals, I think it's anything to do with helping them manage their stress a bit better. Maybe that's one thing that often comes up. So how can they, present themselves as like, confidently assured and not bring that stress and anxiety to other people? For some, it's a little bit clearer on, I need to get out of this organization. How can I do it? Where could I go? What am I now? What do I need to be? So it's like identity crisis moment. And so trying to get a bit more clarity on that so people can pursue what's going to energize them. There's a lot of stuff about conflict. So there's usually stuff related to conflict in the workplace. And I often say that conflict starts within. You often have an inner conflict, and that gets exacerbated in conflict with others. So it could be with your manager, it could be with a peer. And the difficulty is most of the time people don't address it. And feedback is so poor in organizations, and they don't confront it, and it festers and they get a misunderstanding of it. So a lot of the time we're trying to kind of give people confidence to have a conversation, kind of do it in the right way, and multiples. Yeah. Give them the space
and safety to feel like they can share that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, really. So a lot of that conflict and confidence, trust, and I guess kind of, I don't know, finding that new direction. I coach a lot of people who are that sort of, middle aged, and they're dealing with the sort of the issues of losing parents and having kids, and the things around them. Their place in the industry has changed. So how can they kind of reorientate themselves?
Yes. Well, I guess lots of what you're talking about, actually, it sounds a bit like we're not having fun. And because people are keeping their heads down, trying to keep their jobs and trying to get work done, that actually some of that fun and connective tissue is not really connecting.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I was with a design leadership group the other week, and someone said, "Oh, we need to be having more fun, right, in our work." And I was like saying, "Yeah, like it's really important. It's like it's functional fun. Like the play, the exploration is a core part of a lot of the work we do, whether you're a designer or product person, to get to a better place, but also create that cohesion in a team."
Yeah,
Really important.
absolutely agree with you. So we've got to make space for that fun to happen, for the good stuff to come, motivation, innovation, all that good stuff. Great. Well, thank you for that. It was really interesting. I enjoyed talking to you about that. I would like to end, if you have a story on your most proud moment in leadership. Jason, I'm sure there are many, but if you could look in the mind palace for one that you can share with us.
So I often come back to this one because I when talking to leaders and they're wondering whether they want to be in line management or they want to be another type of principal IC leader. But I was at Oyster Partners or Franfab LBI, what version of the organization it was then, and I was working on a product called the Map Medicine. I decided I would help to host an all-day conference on UX, and I encouraged one of my team, Susan Weber, to present some of her works. I thought it was really good. And there was some reluctance, but we worked through it. And when I watched her do her talk and got the appreciation, I can't even think about a time that I was as proud in my career. And I think I just felt more pride there than I've ever felt like with my own work and me being on stage. And I think that just told me something. It's like, oh yeah, there's something in this giving space and empowering others to do great things. And I think that kind of sits, if I look back at a lot of the things, my things I'm most proud of, is there's a kind of string of those, but that's the most poignant memory I have of that.
Yeah. Well, it's pushing other people out of their comfort zone, but giving them a safe space and the encouragement to do that.
Yeah, maybe at the time she might not have thought it was that safe, and maybe it's more of a nudge, who knows? But yeah, I think ultimately she did something great, and hopefully she looks back.
It's really hard to get people, but just really practical. It's really hard to get people to stand on a stage and present. Like even some of the most confident people I know, find that like a really hard thing.
Yeah.
So well done you. Thanks so much for finally coming on the pod. We've talked about it for a long time. It's been a pleasure to host you, and see you in the new year.
Yeah, see you in the new year.